Hey, how's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eater, and it's been a while since we've done a video. We've been quite busy setting up the studio, but now that it's done, we're ready to take you all the way back to July to the Triple Crown, the Fish Expo that drove everyone from all over for several different clubs. Let's get started. Now before we get started with the video, let's cover what the Triple Crown even is, because it's not 3 but actually 4 different fish clubs. The North American Australian New Guinea Fishes Association joined the club a little bit late after they already came up with a name and advertisement like that, but the American Achilles Association, the American Cichlid Association, and the American Live Bearers Association also all hosted the club, so it was 4 clubs put together to put on an awesome event. Now for a show of this caliber, you best believe we packed nice and heavy. Shrimp plants and a bunch of food, plus aqua char. We fit as much as we possibly could into those totes. So now usually we can cram all this into the truck and head out no problem. However, Shelby's mom only lived about 2 hours away from the venue, so we're going to bring the kids along with us this time, and fitting everybody in the truck for a 12-hour trip all the way up to Kentucky just didn't make a lot of sense. So we headed up to Lucas Brett's house, who's got a Sprinter van, and we can all fit everything into that a lot more comfortably with both families even. However, it was just Lucas for this trip. And of course, when stopping by at the LRB Fish House, you gotta take a look, and he just so happened to be finished with one of his new stands. It was 10 foot high. I had to give it a good durability test, climb all the way up to the top of it, and give it a good shake. No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted the best view of the entire place, a bird's eye look at the entire before the whole thing was all completely done, so that way when we took another look at it in the future, I had a little reference point of how far he's come, and you could really appreciate how much he's put into it. It's a lot of work so far. Can't wait to see it completely finished. So after heading out of Lucas's house, our very first stop, once we got into Kentucky, we drove all the way through straight to Kentucky, and by we, I meant Lucas. He was a madman, straight through the night, just stopped to get gas. It worked out. Maybe Shelby had to take a few extra rest stops than we had planned, but we made it. And once in Kentucky, we were invited by one of our special subscribers, watchers, longtime followers, and supporters. Brandon invited us into his home, fed us, and showed us his amazing fish room, as well as some of his ponds out back. I couldn't believe that they overwintered the way they did in Kentucky with their weather. So thank you, Brandon. Your hospitality was above and beyond what we even thought. Your fish room was cooler than I had even expected, and you had way more fish and shrimp than I thought I was going to walk into. Thank you so much. So we got there on Wednesday and started setting up. And well, Lucas kind of disappeared. He thought he was going to go to the hotel room and get some sleep, but shortly after setting up, I noticed that the Zoo Med table was putting price tags on their booth items, and that's very rare. I've been to a lot of expos before, and I've never seen Zoo Med sell any items before, and they just so happened to have a couple of low boy tanks. And on the way, Lucas was talking about how he needed a couple more low boy tanks so that way he could finish one of the racks in his fish room, and he's been looking and can't find them anywhere. Well, he was probably sleeping for like an hour, and I called him, rang the phone, called him. I had no idea what a good deal on these low boys were. They said $130 for each one of them. So it's ringing, and finally he picks up, he answers, and you know, he drove me and my family there all the way, so maybe he thought it was an emergency, so he was being, you know, responsible, picked up the phone, and I could tell in his voice he's being nice, and I go, hey man, I'm sorry to wake you up, I know you drove through the night, but I have 3 low boy Zoo Med tanks. And immediately his voice fired up, and he's like, oh, alright, yeah man, that's awesome, I'll take them. So he was quite happy I woke him up. He knows that if I'm calling him and he's sleeping, it's well worth being woken up for. I know if I was in his situation, I'd be wanting to wake him out of slumber, no matter how many hours I had just driven to complete one of those dream racks for my dream fish room. So right away on Wednesday, it was a pretty good day. Even setting up, we sold quite a few things at the booth to different vendors and different people. There was quite a lot of traffic going through the expo on the first day. There was just so much to do between the auctions and different kind of raffles and stuff like that. But by far, our favorite thing to do was with Robert from Ray Aquatics. We went through the hotel. There was posted of different rooms throughout the hotel where people were selling, have their own little fish store setups in their hotel rooms. You knock on the door, they let you in. One of my favorite rooms, this guy had an entire bed dedicated to all of his fish. All the fish were tucked into the bed. When people came into the room, he turned on the lights, pulled the sheets and covers back, and then have a light that you could view all the fish. And then when everybody left the room, he tucked the fish back in to keep them all safe and sound, and that way they weren't seeing each other, getting all spooked and scared, and also kept nice and stable temperature underneath the covers. And we did this all the way throughout the entire hotel, 10 floors. Poor Robert through the stairs the entire way because everybody was doing this at the hotel, so the elevator was just going so slow. You waited for one for hours because it'd go all the way up and then all the way down and then stop at every single floor because people were going up and down trying to go to all the different rooms. So we took the stairs because it was the fastest. So bless your heart, Robert, you made it all the way up and down, and there was only a few vulgar words involved. Now, the best thing about this show is by far the people. It brings people from all over, even different countries, but I've gotta mention one person in particular, Kevin Canines and Aquatics. Thank you so much. He gave me a ticket to go over to Rusty's house. They were sold out. I even was able to buy and purchase one single ticket for Shelby, so we were able to make the event. Thank you to her mom for watching the kids while we were able to go and enjoy a truly amazing all-natural fish house at Rusty Wessel's house. Now, the entire property was absolutely amazing. From the driveway all the way to the back of the property, it was absolutely beautiful. However, the fish house itself was a little difficult to show its true beauty. It was all natural light. Glare came from all angles. It was really hard to photograph or video any of the fish house, but I did absolutely fall in love with his ponds, from the tall mangroves to the paddlefish. But of course, if you know me, there was absolutely one star in particular that stole my heart the most, and that was the Fly River turtle. And then he didn't even have just one pond, but 2 ponds of paddlefish. It was so cool to see those in person for the first time. And then at Rusty's house, they had an auction. It was ran by my friend Josh Cunningham Cichlids, and the one and only Chris Biggs. The two of them and Rusty put on a great auction. And well, of course, I couldn't resist and bring home some fish. We brought home 2 bags of koi, and they are doing absolutely amazing out in our pond. They have probably quadrupled, if not even more in size than that, and they're thriving in the main pond now with the original fish from Bill Shields. But that wasn't the only auction. There was auctions going all over, and that night in particular there was a babes auction, and that is, Shelby's gonna drop down the acronym down below. However, they had a quite large auction planned out, and there was some shenanigans being played. They had boxes, mystery boxes being sold. Sometimes there was nothing in the box. Sometimes there was something as amazing as this t-shirt right here. There was quite a few like shovel-nosed catfish or other little oddball fish that would go into the box, but you had no idea. Plus there was free drinks going around, and then of course behind the camera, yours truly, Shelby Brown, was one of the beautiful auctioneers, showing off all the fish and handing them out. And then, besides that one, we also participated in the Gadaeid auction. I know Shelby wanted a few different fish added to the collection. Gadaeids, Achilles, Pseudomagills, they were all on the list. Well, what better place to get some Gadaeids is than the auction. They had some certified Gadaeids going up. I think I got Shelby 2 of those, and then one of the other pairs that she also wanted. I met a great friend on the way there. Steve ended up getting himself some Goodeids that laid eggs. Those were really neat. I didn't even know those existed, and you really never know what you're going to find on some of these species-specific auctions. It's where all the nerds and old timers go that are really collecting them breeder awards program points and haven't bred certain types of rare fish or from different locales or something like that, and they're trying to get those last points to beat that other guy. So some of those fish were going up $365 or more at the auction for a single pair. And then of course Shelby couldn't resist. She joined the American Achilles Association and got a free pair of Notheobranchus. And then how ironic, Shelby and Lucas are talking about a book because she's seriously trying to get into Achilles Fish. And if you're caught up or know anything that's going on with our live streams, you're probably aware of the domination of Achilles Fish that have taken over the house recently. So she's well on her way. But there was one book by Ed Werner that Lucas was talking about that Shelby had to get. It just so happened to be on the auction table. And what'd you win it for? Like $5 or $7? And she was about to buy that exact book off of Amazon or whatever. So the money went towards the American Achilles Association, and Shelby got a great book to help her in her hobby. And of course, it's not a good show without a little bit of rivalry, and I'm talking about a friendly rivalry. It's with Ryan from My Wild Fish Tanks. If you haven't seen his last video, it's of a little house tour of our house. We've gone and upgraded quite a few tanks since then, but we'll be releasing a tour video a little bit further into the year or the beginning of next year. And well, that is a great video to see just how far we've come. But Ryan's a great friend, and well, I can't help but to mess with him just a little bit because, well, he started it, of course. So I get him back just a little bit more, and he just keeps coming back. And well, it's kind of been a trend. We've done another show since then, and well, he's going to be finding my shenanigans from shows for years to come now. So now there's just so much going on at this expo that I didn't even know that there was a kids Aquascape contest. But those things are notorious for parents just not showing up at all. In fact, I've gotten the kids into 2 different contests before without being able to register. They fill up quite fast, and then they don't have any they have plenty of no-shows for your kids to step in if you actually go. So it's always something to look for. Even if they fill out, just go to the show, bring your kids. Chances are they'll have an extra tank there. But we got them in. They enjoyed it. The 2 of them competed against each other. Layla had a little bit of an error with some dirty rocks and gravel went into her tank, and it was just a cloud of dust. So she wasn't able to get that under control and prep the tank the way she wanted to. So she got second place. Jaden took first. However, if you would have seen Layla's face running through the expo, picking out all the stuff for her tank, she had a blast until the judges announced the winners. So I know what you're thinking. Grant, I thought this was a fish show. I thought there was going to be a competition with a bunch of beautiful fish on display. And well, there was. However, there was a ton of fish. So many, I couldn't get video or photos of all of them. So I had to get Shelby's help, and between the 2 of us, we got some pretty good footage of the best of the show. But before Shelby puts that all together with a lovely little music behind it, I've got to give props to where credit is due, and congratulations to Scuba Steve. He got first place in his category with one of his fish. So congratulations, man. You're a champion. You better win it again next year. And I already know you've got some shrimp breeding. You're going to be growing those up, get those to size, and then who knows, maybe you'll be dominating in the shrimp circuit next year. Congrats, bro. Now this show was great. We got to meet a ton of the different members from the fish fam, different members from different fish clubs and different breeding communities, lots of connections. However, we did not just go home buying tanks for Lucas. We came home with our own arsenal, and I even went and looked back at Shelby on the ride home and I said, Shelby, how many bags of Achilles fish do you think we got, or pairs of Achilles fish? And I think she said 4. And I was like, you have no idea. When we finally got said and done, if you were to break off the different Achilles, some of them she got, what are the clown Achilles? She got like a 6-pack of those. If you could have broken them up, she could have easily had 12 or 13 different pairs of Achilles fish. So we got those, some wild bettas, and a bunch of like pygmy cories. There's just quite a plethora of fish. We filled up all of the tanks that we had for this brand new rack that we just set up before we got to that show, and well, it put me behind on shrimp projects. We got to build this rack. We got this rack done now, but we had to wrap all of that up, get everything in tanks, because well, the very next week we had to pack up and head to Aquascape, Dallas. And well, stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, follow along, because that's the next video coming out. And well, there's even gonna be a revisit to the shrimp pimp himself, so stay tuned. We'll see you next time.